about Donald Trump's unjustified tariffs on Canada. This is an attack on our country and on British Columbia families that will not go unanswered.
Imagine your entire state could be cut off from the rest of America with the stroke of a pen. That's exactly what Alaskans are facing right now in a shocking escalation that has the White House fuming and border communities panicking. British Columbia Premier David Eby has just made one of the boldest moves in North American trade relations by threatening to impose massive tolls on commercial trucks traveling from the mainland United States to Alaska through Canadian territory. This isn't just another trade dispute. It's a masterstroke that exploits Alaska's greatest vulnerability: its complete physical separation from the rest of America.
April 2nd, 2025 will forever be remembered as the day American industry was reborn, the day America's destiny was reclaimed.
Most people don't realize that Alaska survives on a lifeline that runs directly through foreign soil. There are absolutely no direct roads, railways, or pipelines connecting Alaska to the lower 48 without crossing Canadian territory. Every single shipment of groceries, fuel, medicine, and construction materials must travel through British Columbia and the Yukon.
And President Trump calls it Liberation Day. I call it Termination Day because a lot of people are going to be terminated from their jobs.
This geographical reality has suddenly become a powerful weapon in an escalating trade war that began with President Trump's tariffs on Canadian goods. The proposed tolls would increase shipping costs by thousands of dollars per truckload, expenses that would inevitably hit Alaskan consumers who already struggle with some of North America's highest living costs.
The old relationship we had with the United States, based on deepening integration of our economies and tight security and military cooperations, is over.
For remote communities where a gallon of milk can already cost 3 times the national average, these additional costs could prove devastating. President Trump's response was immediate and furious. He blasted the proposal as illegal and a direct violation of long-standing agreements between the two nations.
What we're going to be doing is a 25% tariff on all cars that are not made in the United States. If they're made in the United States.
Behind closed doors, White House advisors are preparing legal countermeasures, including freezing infrastructure funds for joint projects and reviewing all cross-border treaties. The situation has devolved into a high-stakes standoff, with neither side showing signs of backing down. At the heart of this dispute is the Alaska Highway, a 1,387-mile lifeline built during World War II that serves as the main artery for goods flowing into the state. A 1977 treaty between the U.S. and Canada explicitly prohibits tolls on this critical route, but Eby appears determined to test the limits of that agreement. Legal experts are divided on whether the tolls would technically violate the treaty, creating a dangerous gray area that both sides are exploiting. But the crisis extends far beyond just highways. Most ships bound for Alaska travel through Canadian waters, particularly the Inside Passage.
Vanity Fair says Melania Trump's new book is truly bad. But what these reviewers don't realize is that it's not just a book, it's also a fragrance. It smells like Slovenian prenup ink.
A protected network of channels that both cargo vessels and cruise liners depend on for safe travel. If Canada were to restrict access or impose new maritime regulations, shipping costs would skyrocket, and Alaska's tourism industry, which brings in over $2 billion annually, would collapse almost overnight. Even the skies above Alaska aren't safe from this dispute. Flights from Seattle to Anchorage routinely pass through Canadian airspace. If overflight rights were restricted, airlines would be forced to take longer routes over the Pacific, adding hours to flight times and drastically increasing fuel costs. For Alaskans who rely on air freight for everything from fresh produce to medical supplies, such restrictions could quickly create shortages of essential goods. The communities caught directly in the crossfire are already feeling the effects. In Hyder, Alaska, a town that relies entirely on Canadian roads for access, residents are stockpiling supplies and medications, fearing they could soon be cut off.
Went into detail about her favorite moment as First Lady.
People always asking me, what was your favorite memory as First Lady? It was in 2020 when Donald get the China virus and he was airlifted to hospital like sick elephant. Baron and I threw party on back lawn. We danced around giant bonfire and shot fire cookers at Mike Pence. I had Lincoln bedroom all to myself and did not sleep wink.
The mayor of Skagway has reported that businesses are canceling inventory orders, uncertain if deliveries will make it through. These border towns exist in a delicate balance of cross-border cooperation that is now severely threatened. What makes this dispute particularly dangerous is its timing. As winter approaches, Alaska's isolation becomes even more pronounced. Ice-covered roads, frozen ports, and harsh weather conditions already complicate supply chains during normal times. If Canadian tolls or restrictions were implemented during winter months, the consequences could quickly escalate from economic hardship to a genuine humanitarian crisis. The standoff has transformed from a simple trade dispute into a matter of national pride. Trump has framed the issue as an attack on American sovereignty, while Eby positions himself as defending Canadian interests against American aggression. The rhetoric has grown increasingly personal, with Trump dismissing Eby as a weak provincial bureaucrat, and Eby firing back with declarations that Canada won't be bullied. For Alaska, a state proud of its self-sufficient frontier spirit, the crisis has exposed an uncomfortable truth. Despite its vast resources and rugged independence, the last frontier remains critically dependent on Canadian goodwill. The situation serves as a stark reminder of how geography can be weaponized in international relations. Industry analysts warn that even if the immediate crisis is resolved, the damage to Alaska's economy could be lasting. Companies may reconsider investments in a state with such vulnerable supply lines, and insurance costs for businesses operating in Alaska will likely rise to account for the new geopolitical risk.
Make stuff up about him, I'd start telling people he wears diapers. I would explain that it's a long trial. He drinks a lot of Diet Cokes to stay awake. He's getting up there in years, and it's perfectly normal for a man of Trump's.
The longer this standoff continues, the harder it becomes to restore confidence in Alaska's economic future. As diplomatic efforts continue behind the scenes, Alaskans are left wondering how their needs became secondary in a high-stakes political battle. Border communities that have lived for generations with seamless cross-border movement now face a future where political tensions could sever ties that geography and common interests spent decades building. The Alaska highway crisis reveals a troubling new front in trade disputes, one where geography, pride, and power collide with real communities caught in the middle. As winter's shadow grows longer over the last frontier, the question remains: will cooler heads prevail, or will Alaska pay the ultimate price in a conflict not of its making?